Welcome back to Maximum News, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Max Derrat. I'm joined as always by my co-host Sybsidian. I'm going into things really fast today because we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And right off the top, this just dropped today, and it's part of the reason why I wanted to record tomorrow when we normally record on Monday. Dragon's Dogma 2. We talked about it last week. We were speculating on whether all the rumors that were coming out were pointing at a March 2024 release date, and we knew at the time that there was going to be a Dragon's Dogma 2 showcase on November 28th, which is today, the time that we're recording. So we figured we'd wait until then to see what was going to happen. Well, the rumors are true, Syb. It is coming out on March 22nd, 2024. Just, bump that really close to the top of my most anticipated list. I don't think it's going to supersede games like Hellblade 2, but it's damn close. And after seeing the showcase that they showed today, I don't see how anybody else could not have it close to the top of their list, provided it's their type of game. So before I get into it, I just got to ask you, Syb, have you ever played Dragon's Dogma 1?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Did you like it?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay. So everything in the showcase, for the most part, is exactly what you would expect from Dragon's Dogma 2, which is just music to the ears of people that really enjoy the game. So it's like updated graphics, epic music, landscapes, art direction. Just everything looks like it's a big upgrade, which, if that were what it was alone, keeping all the systems intact from the original game, I would generally be happy because Dragon's Dogma, the systems that it had in the original game were really, really progressive, really innovative. And if it's in a game that comes out 10 to 12 years after the original, because I think the original came out in 2012, I would be happy. But from the showcase that they showed today, it looks like they're adding in a few crucial and really exciting additions. So I'm just going to go through a few of those right now. First, one of the main features of the original game that people really enjoyed was that when you're fighting bosses, you can actually climb on top of them, right? And it's one of the few games that I think allows you to do that, aside from, I think, Monster Hunter World and Shadow of the Colossus. And while it's enjoyable to do in the original game, it was a little bit janky.
Wait a second. What about Leisure Suit Larry? But don't. It's a joke.
Can you imagine?
I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it. You set me up for it so hard.
I just have the image of like a tiny Leisure Suit Larry and the epic Shadow of the Colossus music going on in the background while he's mounting his prey, let's put it that way. But no,
I don't understand why it's not a more common feature,
mm-hmm.
because it is so interesting. It's really cool.
I have a theory. It's because it's kind of complicated to do.
Technically, it is very difficult to code that in.
And even in the original Dragon's Dogma, while it does work, it does look a little bit iffy, and it can feel a little bit janky, especially when you're playing on really hard difficulties. Just trying to go about it that way I find to be really difficult, so I'll just stand off to the side. But with Dragon's Dogma 2, not only does it look fluid, they added a whole bunch of new different types of bosses that you can fight. Now, full disclosure, I only played the first 10 hours of Dragon's Dogma, but after today, trust me, I'm going to go back and play it as soon as I absolutely can. So I don't know how the size of the bosses compared to what we saw in Dragon's Dogma 2, but what I saw here today made me really excited because in Dragon's Dogma 2, you get to fight a 100-foot Colossus named Talos, and you could approach the damn thing in any way you want to. You can jump from a cliff onto its back. You can hit its weak points exactly like Shadow of the Colossus. You can jump onto a bird and then sail down to it. And holy crap, this thing is just knocking crap over and breaking huge buildings left and right, and it looks awesome. Now, I am wondering, if you let the thing go along too far and it keeps breaking stuff, will that stuff remain broken for the rest of the game? I'm probably overthinking it, but who cares? Stuff is going to get wrecked, and you're tasked with bringing down these huge things, and it looks great. I can't wait to play the game. I've been looking for a game since Shadow of the Colossus that can really capture that epic scale and that battle style, and it looks to be one of the ones that's really capturing it. All right. What else do we have here? The pawn system. That was one of the great innovations of the original Dragon's Dogma, and unfortunately hasn't really been used since then. I think, I don't know, maybe Capcom has a patent on it. For those of you who don't know, what the pawn system is if you have a character, I mean, of course you're going to have a character you're playing. That's what you do whenever you play a game like this. You create a character, and then what the game allows you to do is it allows you to upload your character so that if you're going on a quest, you can go into this thing called the Rift and then look and choose from a variety of different characters that people have created from around the world. And one of those characters could be your character. So if you're, say, like my friend, I'll use Syb. Imagine Syb is playing Dragon's Dogma 2, and he wanted to bring somebody along for his quest. Because it's not a multiplayer game, it's a single player game. We can't play together, but he can take my character and turn my character into an NPC that he can bring on a quest with him. So he has multiple hands. And it's a really interesting system. I was wondering how they were going to update that system for Dragon's Dogma 2, and we got some insight into it, and it's actually pretty interesting. It seems like they have a lot more to do this time around. So one thing that I thought was interesting is that instead of just bringing people along so that you have more fighting hands to take down big enemies, you actually had to be somewhat more strategic with the pawns that you choose. So for example, you can go into this area where there are elves and they speak a different language than you do. So you won't be able to understand them. But if you find a pawn that speaks the language of the elves, you go into the Rift, you bring them with you, and they can interpret on your behalf so that you can understand them. So that's really cool. That's actually something that I don't recall being in any RPG game. I'm pretty sure there has, but it hasn't been used enough. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to offer, more reasons to pick and choose the pawns that you bring along with you in order to complete your quests, and really, really interesting stuff. And then finally, another thing, a new vocation. So in the original game, I think it was like you can play a standard sword and shield type character, which is sort of my bread and butter, or a sorcerer. And I think there's one or two more. They added a new vocation, which is actually really cool. It's called a trickster. And the trickster allows you to be a support class. So if you don't want to get too down and dirty with the people that you're fighting, you can actually stand on the sidelines and play support, kind of like to make a really basic comparison, Overwatch, where you're playing Mercy and then you're healing people from the sidelines while they're fighting other people. Just in case you want to take a more relaxed, or, well, maybe not relaxed, but just approach battle in a different way. And another cool thing that they show in the trailer is that if you want, you can use illusions as the trickster to trick enemies and then have them fight each other. It's pretty funny. But yeah, those... And I'm sure there's going to be other stuff because, we still have a few months before the game comes out that they're going to show us. But that alone was enough to really pique my excitement. Game looks great. I do have a couple questions, like whether the game was running at 30 FPS in the presentation. Well, it looked relatively stable. I do wonder what it'll look like at 60 FPS. Kind of a weird structure to the presentation where it felt like just a variety of random clips rather than curated footage, which I guess is a good thing. But anyways, yeah, really enjoyed it. I'm very much looking forward to this game, and we only have December. Wow, less than 4 months. That's really exciting. So, Syb, did you get a chance to look at the Dragon's Dogma 2 showcase, and what are your opinions?
I did not get a chance to review it because everything has been going nuts. I saw kind of like the cliff notes, basically just what you went over. And it sounds really good. Like, this is what we want from our RPGs. Like, this is the kind of focus that we want these studios doing, because this is what's going to make things better. And I think we're seeing, RPGs over the last just 3 months have just suddenly gotten so interesting and so much more unique, and have and are pushing the boundary past what we normally expect to see. With Baldur's Gate just absolutely crushing it. Of course, Starfield has, I would think most people would say it has a few hiccups, but the tech that they've introduced is that there's some really cool things in that game that, again, when you're talking Bethesda games, you got to wait till all of the DLC is out, because that's where they really get into it. That's at the point where you get the mod tools and whatnot. And that's, I mean, no, like vanilla Skyrim's terrible. I mean, without any expansions, it's not as good as people remember it. With the rose-colored glasses, it is something that you need to really wait for that. But that it's still interesting because we're still seeing things changing in this, especially with RPGs. And this is another case where I think we're going to see this as being one of the best games of next year, because it really does sound quite interesting and very, very cool. I didn't see anything noted about character creation. Did you see anything about that?
Yeah, it looks really, really stellar. It looks, I don't know, what's
you're not locked into a preset character then, right?
Oh no!
Thank God.
From the stuff that they showed, it looks really, really intensive. The stuff that it enables you to do. I'm just trying to think of a modern example. Well, I can't off the top of my head, but yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Like, as long as they have it, like it's a place to start with, because again, Baldur's Gate really just boosted that up to a next level, and playing another upcoming RPG-ish type game that I can't talk about yet. It's like the lack of a character creator. I really do feel it. I really do feel it when I'm connecting to the characters in the game.
Yeah.
It's like, I want those, the characters that are made by, as key characters that you interact with, but I still want to make the character that I want to have in the game. And I feel that that's really important. So.
Well, that's what they did in the original game. And even in the original game, which came out was it? Okay, this is going to kill me. Did it come out in 2012? But yeah, even in the 2012 game, the customization was really intensive and comprehensive. And it was centered around a character that was sort of a silent protagonist. But yeah, you could customize it however you want. Okay. I'll look this up in a second. Do you have any other thoughts?
Did you know that there was a meeting of all the silent protagonists that you have in games? Link, guy from Half-Life,
okay,
lady from
Gordon Freeman,
from and then the one from the other game with the puzzles with the portal, right?
Shell, yeah.
And yeah, they went to have their minutes, but nothing got said.
Funny guy. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I know I'm terrible. I'm so sorry.
And Dragon's Dogma did come out in 2012. Okay. Now I have that put to bed. Yeah. So looking really, really good. It's another game that finally has a release date, because there's not a lot of games that, as far as 2024 goes, obviously it's not going to be as big as 2023. We do have some games that I'm really excited and really looking forward to that are coming out in Q1 of 2024. There's Unicorn Overlord, which is made by the same people that made 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, and Dragon's Crown.
That sounds like such that sounds like an 80s
I know,
movie.
It's a weird title, but man, Vanillaware might be the most underrated game developer in the medium right now, and it's awesome. Then there's Grand Blue Fantasy, what is it called? Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, something like that, and then a couple others. But yeah, now this is just one that we can finally add to, because the list of games that we know for sure that are coming out in 2024 is pretty short. So yeah, and hopefully Hellblade is still coming out, although we don't have an exact date. So question is, guys, did you see the Dragon's Dogma 2 showcase? What are your thoughts on it? Are you excited like both of us are? Do you have any criticisms or anything else that we missed that we didn't talk about? Let us know in the comment section below. All right. Obviously, the other big piece of gaming news that came out this past week. Did it come out today? Like the Fallout stuff?
Yeah, basically last 10 hours ish.
Okay.
Or 12 hours ish, kind of. That's where there was a whole slew of articles. And I'm going to say this, guys, please.
Yeah.
Do not look at any of these articles.
Yeah, thankfully when I woke up this morning, Syb was kind enough to say, don't read them. I didn't read them. I just looked at the pictures. So.
Don't look up any of the interviews, especially the Vanity Fair one, especially the Kotaku one. Most of these interviews, and I understand why they're doing it, and I'll explain why they're doing it in a second. but most of them led with all of the major spoilers that you'll see over the first couple of episodes. Don't watch, don't read, don't listen. I would, at this point, I would highly encourage basically everybody, if you are excited for the show and you want to not be spoiled on this stuff, like go through your socials and basically ban the hashtags for it. I know that sounds counterproductive and it will kind of hurt the oomph of the show a little bit because there'll be all these bans going out, but these dumbasses, they just have decided to just spoil a bunch of like key moments. Main character,
clicks, right?
Big events, just right off the top. Blah 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 happened. I'm reading this and I'm like, that's in like it's not the title, but it's like part of the title, and then that like the first initial header under the title, and I'm like, oh my god, I just got spoiled. Like, why? Why would they do this? Why would they ruin the, like, oh my goodness, what? Oh, I'm so annoyed from it. Now, the screenshots look great.
Awesome.
They put out some more clips, but that's the tricky thing is like, how do you see the new pictures that they put out that look amazing, that are really getting me hyped up for this show? But how do I work out that and this just absolutely like just this ludicrous level of spoiling? And now you're going to ask, why are they spoiling? Like, why would anybody do that? What's going on here? The answer is that as far as the main audience that would be behind watching a show like this, that's out there in the, the entertainment universe, those people, those potential fans, most of them know nothing about Fallout. Know nothing of the lore that's been around for over 2 decades now. They just have no understanding of it. They've never engaged with it at all. And despite the fact that the show is going to be really good, at this point, I'm calling it, the show is going to be very good.
I hope
it's going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit better than the first season of, what's that show where they have all the androids in the
Westworld?
Westworld, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit better than that first season. It's going to be, I think it's personally going to be a little bit better than the new Apple series where it also takes place in a vault. That one too. It's like, I think it's going to be a little bit better than that one, because that one was just basically like, that was like 8 episodes of them holding like 2 notes. Like through the whole thing, like duh, duh, and then you're just waiting for that third note to come, and it takes like 6 straight episodes for them to get to the da-da, and you're just like, and you're kind of burned out from it.
What are you talking about? What is this show?
This is an Apple show where it takes place inside a vault, where humanity is hiding from the toxic world.
Oh, okay. I mean, sounds like an interesting premise. Sounds like a little bit like 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I really liked. Yeah, you don't know what the title is off the top of your head?
I'm trying.
Okay, if you find it out.
I'm trying to dig it up right now. I can't remember if it's literally just called Shelter.
Okay.
No, not called Shelter. Not called Shelter. That is a different show entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very poor. That looks terrible. Oh my god, why does it look so terrible? Silo. It's called Silo.
Silo. Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I think I've heard of that. Might be one of the shows that my family's starting to watch.
Yes. Now Silo. It's not a terrible show. I want to make that clear. It's not a terrible show. I find that the pacing, I really don't like the pacing. I think that they should have probably have done 16 episodes in 1 year, because it just drags the whole thing out for way too long. But it's still a good show. But I think the Fallout show is going to be better than these, because of the quality that we're seeing, the people behind it, the passion behind it. And the one thing I was kind of worried about is that things would look kind of campy, that it wouldn't look very good, let alone fit into the kind of the aesthetic that the Fallout look has. I was worried about that. I'm not worried about that anymore. I think what they're doing is great. I think that, I've often thought about it. It's like, if I did it, would it be like gruesome and like live action, or would I opt for some kind of like stylistic visual, because that's kind of like the world that we see it in a little bit. But I think they're hitting good. I think they're hitting a good balance here. So I'm really excited to see what they do. But overall, really stoked for it. But please, please, please don't look up articles, because they're going to spoil characters, events, locations, and things that happen in the show right off the bat. Do not watch it. Not worth it. Don't read those articles. Don't look at the clips. Keep that all out for the next, like, oh gosh, again, I think it's coming out in like kind of like late, like, is it late spring or mid spring?
April.
April. It's gonna be very frustrating for April. I think it was 26th. But yeah.
I echo your sentiments too. Like, obviously, the thing that a lot of people were worried about, aside from just hoping that the show is well written, because it's obviously the most important thing, is just whether or not they would be able to nail that production design and the aesthetic. How would they be able to marry live action with the aesthetic of Fallout that we've come to expect, and how do you not make it look cheesy? But man, holy crap, they nailed it. It's the perfect balance between that Fallout look that and real life. I don't know how they did it, but it's just even if everything else about the show sucks, they're definitely going to get like Emmy nominations for production design and art direction and shit like that, because holy crap, it looks amazing. That power armor still just impresses the crap out of me. And man, Walton Goggins as the ghoul looks just like ripped straight out of the game, straight out of Fallout New Vegas. Just him sitting in that chair, it's like you're home. You feel like you're home in the game. And man, we're so lucky that we get to live in a time where stuff like this is being made. Yeah, now let's just hope that it's good. Anything else that we have to add on this?
No, basically just really looking forward to this. I really feel that we're getting something cool here. It's going to take a little bit of, like, obviously, like, prep and whatnot before we get like our hands on this stuff. But what it means for the Fallout IP going forward, it means so much. Yeah. We are going to see, I think the next Fallout game is going to be one of the best games, because they're going to take what they're learning from the show and they're going to apply it to the next major Fallout title coming out. And I'm just hoping that that's like, that's going to be here sometime in the near future.
Right. Well, if it is, it's not going to be made by Bethesda proper. Maybe it'll be made by Obsidian or somebody else that we're not aware of. Maybe a remake, like we talked about. But yeah, the future's looking very, very bright for Fallout, especially if the show ends up being very good. All right, with that out of the way, what about physical games? Like, we already know that physical games are sort of on the out and out. Like, there was that story from a few weeks ago how Best Buy, I think either next year or the year after, they're going to discontinue physical copies of movies, I think. Not games, but movies. But yeah, it's coming. Like, eventually there'll be a point where physical media isn't being made anymore, and it's worrying. So what's the newest in that?
I would say no, because we've got, so it is a bit of a two-tier thing here. So on one hand, physical game media was never out as much as people thought, because this was the first year the digital game sales surpassed physical sales. That according to a couple of these articles, this is the first time this has ever happened. And at first I was like, are you sure? But according to that's how that works. So, and this is mostly, I believe this is mostly through, like, because you don't have access to this data. There's a lot of data that's missing on this. So they're tracking this by looking at the small sales that we do have access to, mostly the UK's market, but also Christmas lists. And that's how they got this number. And so that's how they're kind of looking at it. So again, it's not a 100%, it's not a guarantee, because again, we get so little data on game sales. We get so little data on what's selling what and where, that this is the first time that we've kind of been able to say yes-ish. But it is now, whether it was this year or last year, it's definitely kind of a turning point, because now people want digital more than they want physical.
It's just more convenient.
But what about is that just it? Are we just going to be, are you just never going to get a physical copy anymore? No, because Baldur's Gate is doing, and this was announced last week, but we didn't cover it. Baldur's Gate is doing a physical copy of Baldur's Gate 3. Sorry, Larian is doing Larian's doing a physical copy of Baldur's Gate 3.
And they haven't up until this point?
They haven't up until this point.
Wow.
Now you're going to be able to go in. It's for the Xbox, but they're doing a physical copy because now they finally got it working on the Xbox. Everything's going great. It's ready to go, and they're going to be having that. And I am going to pick up a copy just for the sake of having it, be able to put it up on the wall behind me. And There are a lot of other people who are saying the exact same thing. It's now seen as a collector's item, and that, I think, is going to that's going to wake up various companies to that as a concept. I should correct, they did have physical copies for the PC, but it was like really pricey and very hard to get your hands on the very limited amounts of that they had with the big they had a big statue. They had some other physical stuff in there. But yeah, correct that. But yeah, it's we're getting more of the physical things where we weren't expecting them, and when companies see that and understand that, I think we will be getting more. And what I expect what we'll get is we're going to get the collector's editions as the actual collector's memorabilia, but they'll still do those small single pack, the just the game, not this cool statues, not the cool other stuff, but just having that physical copy that's on a CD. Yeah. And I believe the physical copies of what we had for the PC didn't come with the actual game on a disc. It just came with a code that allowed you to access through a store. So that's where the difference is, because the one that's coming out soon is actually coming out with the actual, everything's on that disc and you can play it from the disc. That's what's cool. And that's what I think we're going to see more in the future with a lot of this. And that's exciting to me, because it's important that we don't lose, good Lord, we should never have everything be based off of just get it digitally, because I've seen what happens when that goes down, and it's not cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that companies are going to try and exploit that in the very, very near future. I just wonder for how long, though. Is the PS6 and the next Xbox going to have disk drives still? I like to think yes, but what about the console after that? I imagine that around that time, they're probably just going to try and go all digital, because it's not like physical media is going, we're expecting it to go on an upward trend anytime soon. It's on a gradual decline, as it has been for the last decade. So, yeah, I hope that they'll continue to allow us to do that. And I do foresee that for at least the next few years, physical media will still be around. But it's happening, guys. So just remember, if you buy stuff digitally, and I need to start telling myself this because I do buy a lot of stuff digitally, is that you don't necessarily own a permanent copy of the stuff that you're buying, right? Because it can take that away. So be careful. All right. Moving on. So one of my most anticipated games, for better and for worse, is Silent Hill 2. Obviously, I suppose the one thing that I'm probably most known for talking about on YouTube, on my personal channel, is Silent Hill stuff, like the Silent Hill games, Silent Hill mythology. Those are my most popular videos. So naturally, I'm going to be looking forward to anything that's coming out, even if it's at the detriment of my own mental health. Ergo, Silent Hill Ascension, but we're not going to go into that. But yeah, obviously the next one that's coming up after that is Silent Hill 2 Remake. A game, an actual game, not a experimental crappy TV show, and it's coming out from Bloober Team. Now, because of how disappointing Silent Hill Ascension was to so many people have been wondering, gosh, is this going to be the end of the the franchise itself. So people are hoping to God that Silent Hill 2 remake is going to be good, but people have had their suspicions that maybe like there's something wrong going on behind the scenes, because ever since October of 2022, over a year ago, we haven't heard anything about the project. Well, no, sorry, that's not true. That's not true. We haven't seen anything official, like gameplay or cutscenes or anything since that initial reveal back in October of last year. We have heard like bits and pieces here and there come out from Bluebird team themselves, but nothing concrete. And because of this, people have been really, really worried, including myself. But, you know, I've just been under the impression, like, look, when we saw the initial reveal, things look complete. And the stuff that we've been hearing seemed to point at the fact that the game is virtually done. It's just a matter of when Konami wants to release it. Because that's not Bluebird Team's decision, right? That's Konami's decision. Again, just this is the clown world that we're living in. But anyways, people who aren't in the know, like myself, because you know I have to keep my ear to the ground when it comes to this sort of stuff for my, because I talk about this stuff for my livelihood. People thought that, well, Bluebird are the people that are making it. They're the ones that control when it comes out. So people have been pestering them nonstop on social media and all that, saying, what the hell's going on? Can you please give us an update? And so people have been doing it so much that on November 26th, so that would have been on Sunday, Bluebird Team actually released a statement. And I'll read it verbatim. As Bluebird Team, we are proud to be a part of Konami's plans for the Silent Hill franchise. Alongside our partner, we are diligently working to ensure the Silent Hill 2 remake attains the highest quality. On behalf of our development team, we would like to clarify that the production is progressing smoothly and in accordance with our schedule. We understand that many players around the world are eagerly anticipating news about the game, and we appreciate your dedication. However, we kindly ask for a bit more patience. Once Konami, as the game's publisher, shares more information, we are confident that the wait will be worthwhile. Thank you for your understanding and support, Bluebird Team. So, TLDR, stop bothering us, go bother Konami. Right? So, and I agree with them. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Bluebird as a studio or their games, I really do think that people should stop bothering them. And once again, just direct all of your most fervent hate towards the backwards ass company that is Konami. Hashtag F Konami. And you know what I mean by F. Yeah, people know what I'm talking about. So, side. It's I don't know if there's a franchise that exists out there that is more painful to be a part of the fan base for than for Silent Hill. Is there a different one?
Jill of the Jungle. Yeah, Jill of the Jungle. We have not. Yeah, we haven't gotten a new Jill of the Jungle in like 25 years. It's been insulting. I mean, come on.
What the hell is Jill of the Jungle? Let me look this up.
You don't know Jill of the Jungle? You should play it. Oh, it's a great Tim Sweeney of Epic. That was one of his first games he ever made.
Dude, this game came out in 1992. That was before I was even born.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, it's amazing. Oh my goodness, it's 30 years old. Crap.
Well, you know, in an era where IP is king and people are just going to, you know, do anything that they can to get their hands on something that came out prior and do a sequel to it. You never know. Jill of the Jungle might come back. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But yeah, any thoughts on this whole debacle? There's not a whole lot of great news that have come out this past week, guys. Honestly,
yeah. Unfortunately, this is Konami. This is what they. This is their way of dealing with requests. This is their way of communicating with people, is to just not really do a very good job of it.
Yeah.
And that sucks. And it always sucks. And the thing that it sucks the most for is for the fans. And that's rough. That really sucks. It really does. And I wish I had more happier answers for it. But unfortunately, it's like not until these companies bleed, they're just not going to respect you or I or anybody.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Man, I just hope, because I do have faith in Konami's foundational approach with the Silent Hill franchise here. I do think, because they seem to be well aware of the fact that, okay, we suck. We don't make games anymore. So what we're going to do, because we don't have any idea about what goes into the making of a good game, we're just going to give this property to a whole bunch of people, and then whatever sticks, we'll go and just put all our money behind that. And that's what they did. They did the scattershot approach. They went to Bloober Team, but they also went to the people... what's the name of the studio that's working on Silent Hill Townfall? I can't even remember. But yeah, Silent Hill Townfall and then Silent Hill F, whole bunch of projects. At least one of them has to be at least good, right? So I do think eventually we're going to get a good Silent Hill game. But whether or not that game comes out and is able to be financially successful and continue the franchise, I'm very pessimistic. But yeah, I just thought, another, maybe not as bad as Silent Hill, but another fan base that it must really suck to be a part of right now is Knights of the Old Republic. We're gonna finish on this. Luckily, at least in this. In this respect, I've never played Knights of the Old Republic 1 or 2. I know, like they're like foundational games, and I will play them at some point. Hopefully before the remake comes out. However, there have been people wondering whether or not the remake is even still in the works. Because remember, I think it was like a month or two ago, we did a podcast where we talked about how the reveal trailer for Knights of the Old Republic Remake, the one that came out 2 years ago, got taken off the internet. Now, the people that... Oh,
don't worry, guys. It's just a licensing deal.
Right.
Obviously, we didn't license this commercial for more than, 6 months. Like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, that's obvious. Everybody... That's just a normal thing. Whenever you make a trailer for a big upcoming thing, you only license the music for 6 months. Everybody knows that. Everything is fine.
Is that really how long they licensed the music for that trailer for?
No, it was like a year, but it's like this. The statement is either you're an idiot and you think that's true, or you know that something else is going on here.
Right.
That's not computing. There's something is incorrect, sir.
Well, of course there's stuff that's not going wrong. Like, the game was originally working at, like, the people who were originally making the remake was a developer named Aspire or Asper. I think it's Aspire, spelled with a Y. And then it got taken over by Saber Interactive just this past year. So, yeah, obviously they weren't particularly happy with the way that Aspire was going about things. That's why they switched developers. Isn't Saber Interactive working on Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2? Is that it?
Well, I mean, you got to remember they did do that awful triangle looking pad that they tried to sell through some kind of random paper company based out of some what is that place? Where's Joe Biden from? That place.
Oh, Delaware?
Is it Delaware? I'm not sure. I'm not Canadians here. We don't know American geography. But that's an office joke, by the way. That's not actually serious. That's an office joke. But yeah, no, it's yeah, they've been working on this stuff. Now, what we're gonna get out of it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, people were wondering, like, is it even still in development, and can we just go based off of what the people behind the scenes are actually telling us? The people working on the game. Well, for better or for worse, Jason Schreier, whatever you think of him, he does have a lot of industry contacts, and people have been asking him, I suppose, whether or not the KOTOR remake is actually still in development. Well, he says yes, quoting from a direct tweet from him. In case you guys don't know who Jason Schreier is, he works for Bloomberg, a very famous games journalist. He says, can't say whether the KOTOR remake will ever actually come out, but yes, 2 people from Saber Interactive tell me they're still on it. Despite recent rumors that nobody's working on the game, Saber took the project from Aspire last year, as Bloomberg reported then. So, still in development, but I mean, like, what does that mean? Is it still in development, like... I don't know, The Last Guardian was in development and that it eventually came out after like 9 or 11 years? Or is it like Beyond Good and Evil 2 still in development? Or are we getting in 2 years? I don't know. But, I mean, I suppose between, like, as far as news reveals goes, it's at least a little bit better to be a Silent Hill fan right now compared to a KOTOR fan. Because, like, when did the KOTOR 2 came in 2003, right? And then it took 18 years before anything else. Well, no, there was the Old Republic MMO, but that's not really the same thing, I don't think.
Yeah, there's 1 and 2. I mean, the second one came out not too terribly long after the first one.
Yeah.
But the MMO, you know, a lot of people hate it. I did play it on release. There was some big mistakes that they made. One is when you're building a multiplayer game and you make it so that you can play through the entire thing completely solo without ever talking to another person, and you get the full story of the world, the universe, and everything, and it ties everything up in a nice bow and goes, that is the end of our tale. Why don't you stick around and play with a bunch of crazy people that you don't know? That's not a good selling point. That is really not. You're like, you know what? My story is now complete. I really did enjoy that story. It was quite amazing. Next game, please. It's like, yeah, that was what was happening. And again, the stupidity of like people going, well, again, they didn't really think this through. It's the same thing as the Star Trek MMO. It's like Star Trek MMO. You play through, 20 or 30 hours. You get up to like you get near the end game. You don't become just a commander in charge of your own ship. You don't just become a captain of your own ship. You don't just unlock all of the cool ships that you saw, watching the shows growing up. You don't just get access to all of them. You become a vice admiral. And then you're told, hey, there's tons of stuff that's to come. It's like, sure there is. I'm a vice admiral. What more is there for me to get? I've unlocked every ship that's ever existed. What are you talking about? There's more for me to get. No, there's not. I've just done everything your universe has to offer me. And so obviously you get disinterested with it. And so that's the unfortunate point that happened with that MMO and the other MMO, and it's something that happens routinely when people are designing stories. And again, it's like BioWare has a real bad habit with this, because what have we wanted from BioWare for the past like decade? More Mass Effect, or a good Mass Effect game. What have we gotten? Garbage. Yeah. Just hot garbage. Absolutely terrible garbage. Why did that happen? Well, because we left the Milky Way galaxy and we went to the Andromeda galaxy. How did that go over? Not well. Not good. And again, that comes from the point of writing your story into a corner, doing things that it doesn't actually work in the long term. And it's just not actually that good. And this is a great example of it. It's like, well, gee, guys, if only somebody could have told you not to write yourself into a corner, not to tie everything up into a nice little bow and say, this story is complete. And I mean, not that I want to get yanked around for like 2 or 3 decades, but it's like you can always leave other doors open. You can always do that. But then they moved on and they're like, no, Anthem is going to be the best game you've ever played. It's going to be the best thing ever. It's going to be so wonderful. And what a joke that turned out to be. And the insane fans that still to this day think that game is just the most amazing thing ever to exist ever. It's like, oh God, it's so unfortunate that there were still some hardcore fans and a lot of studio devs and a lot of other people that just, again, it's like, oh, this is the best thing that we could ever come up with ever. And it's like, but it's really not very good now, is it? It's not very good now, is it? Yeah. So yeah, that's unfortunate.
I'm looking at the list of BioWare's games. Like, Dragon Age Inquisition came out in 2014. That was 9 years ago. And that was arguably the last good game that they released. Since then, they've released Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, and that's it. God, what happened? But remember, what were we talking about? KOTOR. Yeah. Anything that is even remotely associated with BioWare, like KOTOR was, just seems to be going down the tubes. Well, let's hope that Dragon Age Dreadwolf can bring it back around, although I'm not holding out hope. All right. That does it for this episode, guys. Yeah, it's a pretty short episode, but it's kind of a pretty dry news week. That's just sort of the consequence of coming down to the end of the year. Game Awards are next week, which we'll obviously be talking about.
We're gonna have huge news, obviously, with that.
Yeah.
And Season of Discovery is coming out in 2 days.
What's that?
Season of Discovery is classic WoW, and a lot of people are going, "Oh God, why are people still playing that?" Because it's a 20-year-old game that
is great.
Shockingly, is great.
Yeah.
There was the problems with the game came out from obviously the studio, obviously Activision, but that's not affected by any of that stuff. It's not affected by the current retail status, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Man,
no space goats,
right?
Stuff that a lot of people didn't like about the follow-ups and the way that they continued, but taking the best things that did come from that and adding them to the game now. And it's like, yeah, I'm honestly really, really excited. It's looking like so much fun. And yeah, we're gonna be covering it, and it's gonna be fun. We're not gonna be covering it a ton, but it's gonna be a guilty pleasure for crazy people.
Dude, I'm still hella tempted to go back to World of Warcraft, but I just know, like, it's like, okay, do you want to go enjoy that for a few days and have the rest of your life ruined?
Yeah,
but yeah, it's tempting because it's just, I think I've never had more fun playing a multiplayer game than probably World of Warcraft. Maybe Halo or GTA 5, but yeah, it's close. But anyways, guys, that does it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any thoughts on any or all the topics that we talked about, we'd love to hear about what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Leave a comment down there. Make sure you hit the like button. That really helps us out a lot. I want to thank Syb, as always, for doing the show with me. Anything else you want to say before we conclude?
No, we're getting back in the swing of things. We got very, very delayed. We've got some great videos coming up about a bunch of different games. Just because we're talking about one right now doesn't mean that we're not going to be covering a bunch of stuff. We've got some really cool things that are on the board for the future here. So I'm really excited to see all of that stuff coming out soon.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going to be great.
You guys can also go check out my personal channel, which I'll link in the description box below. I do a lot of video game analysis. At the time of this video's release, I will also be having a video come out on my channel where I analyze a very, very underrated anime called Babylon. Make sure you go check that out. It's probably one of the most intriguing premises for any piece of fiction that I've encountered in a very, very long time. And then, I'll be back to regular video game analysis the week after that when I do a video on Fear and Hunger, I think. I'm 99% sure that's what I'm doing. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And until we do this again next week, probably like pre-Game Awards coverage we'll probably do next week. I want to remind you as always, and as per usual, stay yellow.
Goodbye.